Hi guys, this is Tiny Little Whispers ASMR. Today I have another true crime case for you guys. And today's case is called the Mall Murderer. Once again, I have my computer with notes off to the side, so please excuse me looking down into the corner. So, the mall murders took place back in 2007 in Boca Raton, Florida. On March 23rd, 2007, 52-year-old Randy Goenberg was at the mall in Boca Raton. This is a very safe and extremely wealthy area in Florida. Randy had gone shopping in the late morning and left the mall around 1:15 p.m. So it was definitely still daylight at this time. She was seen leaving the mall on a security camera, but it had to have been inside the mall or outside, but not facing the parking lot. Unfortunately, there were no cameras in the parking lot in 2007. So, at some point, Randy was carjacked. Most believe it happened while she was loading her purchases into her car. She had a nice black SUV with tinted windows. No one is really sure what happened over the next bit of time, but approximately 30 minutes later, Randy's lifeless body was pushed out from the passenger side of her car. Randy had been shot and was dead. Police are unsure if she was shot and then pushed out of her SUV, or if she had tried to escape and then the attacker shot her. Someone saw this and called the police. Her body had been dumped about 6 miles away from the mall. The attacker took off in Randy's car, and her car was later found abandoned in a Home Depot parking lot. Randy's purse was missing, along with her shoes. It's a bit strange, as her shoes were not expensive items. She did have on 2 diamond rings and a Cartier watch that were both found on her person. Police are unsure if Randy had a debit card on her that day. This was the first murder that happened at the Boca Raton Mall. The second happened on August 7th in the same year of 2007. This attack was a bit different, and due to that, the police have not released a name. You'll soon find out why. On August 7th, a mother, we will call her Jane Doe, was leaving the Boca Raton Town Center Mall with her 2-year-old son. This mother, Jane, also owned an expensive black SUV. Between putting her son into his car seat and loading her purchases into the trunk, a man managed to slip into the back seat. As soon as Jane got into the car, her son at gunpoint. The man was clearly in control of the situation as he ordered Jane to do various things. He asked Jane to drive to a bank that was nearby. Once there, he has Jane withdraw money at the ATM. She withdraws money in $200 increments until she has withdrawn $600 total. $600 was the max amount Jane was allowed to withdraw on a daily basis from an ATM. Jane then hands the money over to her attacker, and he forces her into the back seat with her son. At this point, he puts zip ties on her ankles and her wrists. He also puts one around her neck, attaching her to the headrest. He also places glasses, and these were sunglasses that were blacked out with duct tape over her eyes. She is able to still see a bit out of the sides of the sunglasses, and he eventually takes the sunglasses off and puts on goggles that have been blacked out and stuffed with foam. Jane kept trying to humanize herself and her son, and she spoke to her attacker about all of their loved ones and spoke highly of her 2-year-old son. Eventually, the attacker returns Jane the vehicle and her son to the mall parking lot, where he first abducted them. At this point, the attacker says as long as she does not give an accurate description of him. She had seen him rather well before the sunglasses and goggles were placed on her eyes. The attacker stated that she should describe him as a short, overweight African American. He then allowed Jane to call her husband and say that he needed to come pick them up immediately as her car had broken down. At this point, Jane's hands, legs, and neck are still zip tied. She still has the goggles on her face, and the attacker manages to flee. After a full minute, Jane manages to take off the headrest and breaks free of her zip ties and removes the goggles. She then immediately drove over to a valet located at the mall. Her husband met her there, and they went to the police, where she was questioned for hours about her attack. Jane was very brave and gave police an accurate description of the attacker, and she did not lie like he had asked her to. She stated that the attacker was approximately 6 feet tall, and he wore a floppy style hat. He also along with his floppy hat, the attacker wore sunglasses and had a ponytail. He had brown hair, and he was possibly Caucasian or Hispanic. The police released a composite drawing of the attacker, but he was not recognized by the public. final attack happened on December 12th, also in 2007. A mother, Nancy, and her daughter, Joey Bokikio, had been shopping at the mall for Christmas presents. They also left while it was daylight, and it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Nancy also owned a nice black SUV. When Nancy and her daughter got to her vehicle, the attacker jumped inside with a gun and threatened both Nancy and her child. He ordered Nancy to go to an ATM near the mall as well, where she withdrew $500, which was her daily max withdrawal limit. After about an hour, a witness notices Nancy's car return to the mall parking lot. No one noticed anything until around midnight, when a security officer spotted Nancy's car running off by itself. When he arrived at the car, he found both Nancy and Joey sitting in the back seat, shot at point blank range. Both Nancy and Joey were already dead. The weird thing was, Nancy and Joey were also zip-tied, just like the Jane Doe in the previous attack. Nancy was also wearing goggles that were blacked out with foam. The security guard calls the police, and it is later found that Nancy tried to call 911, but the call was hung up and she never spoke to an operator. Nancy also had on toy handcuffs, but these were broken. several years. The police have followed up on close to 2,000 leads, but they have never figured out who the attacker could possibly be. Even though all of the attacks happened within the same year, police are unsure if the first attack was related to the other two. Some say that Randy was killed by the same attacker. He just had not perfected his MO. There is also the chance that Randy was attacked for another purpose, as her credit cards that were stolen were used several years later in Massachusetts. There is video surveillance of her cards being used, but those using the cards were not recognized. There is the chance that her cards were sold on the black market after they were stolen. The last two attacks are very clearly related, as they used similar zip ties and goggles. The reason it is believed that the attacker did not kill Jane Doe or her son is because she humanized them very well. She also did not fight back. This is why Jane Doe remains anonymous to this day. The attacker threatened her and said if she gave an accurate description of him, that he would return and kill her and her son. She did give an accurate description, but he has yet to return. The last attack that resulted in the death of Nancy and her son Joey, it is believed by police that Nancy fought back. It seems as though the killer enjoys being in control, and therefore he shot both Nancy and Joey. There is no forensic evidence linking the first case to the last too, but it is rather strange. Many believe all attacks were done by the same man who is a serial killer in the making. He did all of this for small amounts of money, so some believe he was addicted to drugs or gambling, and someone who would do anything for money. Others believe he enjoyed the killing aspect and eventually moved out of the area or changed his MO. He was very prepared for the last 2 attacks. In my mind, I believe it is the same attacker. And the first time, there were just several mistakes made. For the second case, I just feel he was unable to kill, which resulted in Jane Doe and her son being granted life. I really do hope that we are able to find answers about this case someday soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a nice, relaxing day or evening, and stay tuned for my next true crime video. If you have any special requests for certain cases, definitely let me know